Now I'll present an important framework for the analysis of media discourse, especially the discourse which is related to print media or newspaper. This framework has been proposed by Annabella Carvalho in his uh, one of her very popular publications in 2008. So this framework is based on the concept of mediated discourse in a society. Mediated here, if you just look at your screens, you will find that uh, three alphabet ta, e, and da, they have been written in brackets. That shows the kind of ideological function of this title. So here, mediated means uh, something which has been intervened by the media. So there is an there, to my understanding, there is an underlying assumption that discourse which is presented by the media is manipulated, exploited, or to say the least, is intervened by the media, maybe by the journalist's own subjective opinion or by the ways it has been presented on the screen or on paper. That can also be the ways to influence the projection of a media discourse and its meaning. So I'll just first introduce to you the concept of mediated discourse in a society and what it lacks as far as research domain is concerned so far, in order to establish the need for a new framework, and then I'll go on and explain what this framework is about. According to Annabella Carvalho, the analysis of discourse based on media studies, or which is prevalent in media and its social embeddedness, has known significant advances in last 2 decades. It has been a popular topic to analyze the media discourse from multiple perspectives, and especially it has become very popular after the emergence of critical discourse analysis, because this discourse analysis has provided a very essential toolkit to analyze media discourse. However, according to Carvalho, there have been three important areas which have been ignored in these studies to her understanding. First is the time plane in discourse analysis, because she thinks that discourse analysis of media text has ignored the historical view of the text. The time plane is usually not investigated. Sometimes the elements of intertextuality, connection with text produced before, is explored, but the historical development timeline of that discourse development is usually ignored. But according to Annabella, these can be very crucial elements in the right interpretation and analysis of a text. Then the discursive strategies used by the journalist or other writers in print media, they are also important aspects which are usually ignored. The more focus is generally on and decoding the language used or linguistic choices, syntactic or semantic structures, but little attention is paid to find out the discursive strategies which have been employed to present certain point of views. Though recently, as far as my opinion is concerned, I would say there have been a reasonably good number of studies based on discursive strategies also, but there is still a lot of work needs to be done, especially in the realm of media studies. Though in pure linguistics we can see, or applied linguistics we can see that CDA based studies related to discursive strategies are very are becoming very popular these days. Then Annabella believes that the extra and supratextual effects of mediated discourse, that means media based discourse, are also not given much importance. They needs to be not only digged deep, they not only need to be investigated in depth, but also in their width also, because more effects which generate, so far the studies have been focusing on some very ordinary contextual factors, but According to Annabella, people need to look deep into these extra and supratextual effects, which could be of multiple natures. First, talking about time plane or looking into the timeline of research, it is believed that understanding the biography of public matters requires a longitudinal examination of mediated text and their social context, which so far has been a missing point in media discourse studies. Most forms of analysis of journalistic discourse do not account for the time sequence of text and its implications, because time sequence, what said when and what followed afterwards, can have important implications on the meanings of a certain discourse and on the production of a discourse. Secondly, the media representation of social issues is to a large extent a function of the discursive construction of events, problems, and positions by various social actors or agents. And the discursive strategies used for this become very important in order to see what has been framed, what has been brought forward, and what has been backgrounded is not shown properly or shown to the extent it deserves attention, are very important areas of investigation. What has been nominated in a text and what has not been nominated, what has been brought forward and what has been hidden. These kinds of strategies needs to be looked into. Given the centrality of language to journalism, there has been many studies in journalism about about the language, its use, its structure in media. And as I said earlier in this module, that language and its various aspects in media discourse has been studied extensively by various researchers. For example, Fowler in 1991 examined linguistic aspects of news language such as transitivity in syntax, lexical structure, modality, and speech acts. Similarly, Fairclough also proposed some of the most systematic analysis of journalistic discourse or language use in the mid of 90s. These studies advanced a research program that involves questioning the role of discourse in the production and transformation of social representations of reality, as well as social relations. But to be honest, CDA now needs to look beyond it. We have done enough on finding the linguistic aspects of discourses, but we need to look how these linguistic choices not only create meaning in the text, but how and in what ways the text generated by these linguistic choices have an impact on its surroundings in which it is being produced, or on its target audience, maybe international audience. So we need to look into all these aspects in more detail now, especially institutional and socio-cultural context. In the analysis of journalistic practices, this task is particularly challenging given the nature of the socio-cultural context journalistic content or text intersects, because journalism deals with approximately all walks of life. It's not restricted to one aspect. That other fields of life are restricted to certain spheres of life, if not only one. But journalism is one of those fields which intersects with approximately all fields of life. The reporting, then projection of news, conveying of information carries from not only all fields of life, but from all sections of the society of a society. Therefore, developing a kind of research program that would encompass all aspects of life and that would guide us about analyzing the discourses emerging from various sections of the society or various aspects of life, covering approximately most of the fields in the life, human life, would be very difficult. It would be a challenging task, I would say, to find such deeper and wider research program that can cover all these aspects. So therefore, it would be a challenge for future research in media discourse studies to find a way, find a method or analytical toolkit which can cover most aspects of human life and can bring out the best analysis of media text.